187.
This video is sponsored by CuriosityStream. Get access to the streaming video service Nebula when you sign up for CuriosityStream using the link in the description. Welcome to a video showcasing one of the most unreal experiences of my life. Never have I felt such an intense combination of emotions in such a short space of time. Joy, fun, just having a good time, and then stress, exhaustion, even a bit of fear. A couple years back, I was invited to go play with 3 of the card counters abroad in Las Vegas. After training sessions, discussions, and a lot of phone calls, we came up with an aggressive plan of attack to hopefully take as much money out of Las Vegas casinos as possible. Let's skip forward to being in Las Vegas one day into the trip. I am in sunny Las Vegas, the place where dreams are made, bank balances are emptied, and people get really, really drunk and then forget what they did the night before. This is a big trip. What we are doing is insane. And I say we because I'm joined by 3 other card counter friends, and together we are taking on Las Vegas. When we're working as a team, it's not a team in the, the traditional card counting sense, in that we're all in the same casino and we're doing secret signals and communicating stuff to each other. That's not really what we're doing. It's more that we're pooling our resources together so that we can basically have more power, if that's the right term. There's this really odd mathematical concept in card counting, and if you are a math person and you're good at math, you might just intuitively get this and be like, yeah, that's really obvious. But to me, it was a little bit of a moment. You've probably heard the phrase that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, and that could not be any more true than in card counting. Let's say I have $10,000 and I put that towards the card counting fund, and another friend has $10,000 and he puts that towards the card counting fund. Now that's not the mathematical equivalent of us having 20 grand that we split by 2 and we each have $10,000 to bet with. How it actually works out is, it's the equivalent of one person having $20,000 to play with and playing twice as fast. By having a few of us all pool money and put money in, it means we have more money to play with and we can bet bigger. That's because in card counting, you need like a lot of money to afford to bet big. If I have 10 grand and then I'm betting $1,000 at my top bet, I only need to lose 10 of those hands to be out of money, and that's it. So you need a big enough amount of money that you can afford to take a little bit of a bad run before the good run happens, or however this graph looks. Hopefully like that. So myself, Ultimate, and that is right, card counters have code names, are pooling our money together for this bankroll. I'm being a bit of a proxy investor in that my money's not going into it, but my investor, who's been backing me up till this point and now, is investing through me. So we are putting in $260,000. Madness. The rest of the team are investing combined $160,000, which gives us $420,000 to play blackjack with. When I thought of this series at the beginning, I thought maybe I'd be playing with 20 grand tops. I thought if I really smash this and it's really cool, I'll be playing with 20 grand. I never dreamed that I'd be playing with close to $500,000. We had a team meeting earlier this year, and Ultimate, who is the team manager, that is right, card counters have team managers, he ran the numbers and we all came up together with a bet spread. And our smallest bet that we make is 2 hands of $200 on each hand, which is huge. And the largest bet we make, if we're playing like the aggressive version of our bet spread, is 2 hands of $1,500. More realistically, it's going to be 2 hands of $1,200 most of the time. It's kind of weird, you know, because I've got to this point where we're just doing it, and I haven't. You've got to take a moment to really, when I'm explaining it on camera, I'm realizing how ludicrous this whole situation is on like another level, and it's just insane. Focus, back in the room. All right. Oh god, I really need to go eat some breakfast. In theory, when we run the numbers, we have a 1% chance of going completely bankrupt, which would suck, but is very unlikely. However, we don't have enough time, we can't get enough hours in to get to the mathematical long run where we're guaranteed profit. If this is the graph, we could stop the trip here. You know, we just don't have enough time to ensure this works. So we've worked it out that we have about a 1 in 6 chance of losing money and a 5 in 6 chance of winning money. I like those odds. Las Vegas has the greatest surveillance departments in the world. They are so good at catching card counters. They are better at catching card counters than I am at counting cards. So it is not a very good matchup. What we are worried about right now is that we might spend this trip just driving from casino to casino to casino and then getting 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, and just not stacking up enough hours to guarantee profit. This is Strike 2020. That is the project name. The team name is Strike. It's time to take on Las Vegas. Oh yeah, by the way, yesterday we played and we lost $15,000. So going well so far. After a pretty bleak head start, we were all hoping for a good day. And the day delivered. By the time I woke up, one teammate had already won 5k at 5 in the morning. By the time I started playing, we were already up 26k for the day. This playing on a team thing was nice. 40,000 there, is it?
40 and a bit.
Today has gone very, very well. Considering yesterday we were down about 15k. Now we're up 50k. So a massive, massive roller coaster. This is our overall actual value. So this is the amount of money that we are making and losing. So at first, you know, went down a bit, and then show yours. Yours is the funniest one. Oh, I'll bleep your name. This is yours. Look at that. Starting off pretty dramatic failure. We were all very disappointed. And then look at that. Ridiculous. $20,000 session that you had. Plummeted into darkness on day one. And then on day two just kicked ass. Mine, where I started off well, and today I've basically been a bit lazy and chilled. We're now doing a little stock check to make sure that all of our figures add up.
Wait, this doesn't add up. How have I only
It
got...
doesn't add up. As you can hear in this clip, we were off on our calculations. Dealing with so much money and so many playing sessions, it was difficult to keep track of every dollar. We did regular inventory checks throughout the trip, but often we were a few $100s off what we expected. After counting and recounting again, we all got some sleep so we could get some hours in the next day. Now I've had a couple of days of playing, I thought it'd be good to chat about the differences between playing in Las Vegas to playing in Washington State, which is where I was back in October. Firstly, I'm a better card counter than I was when I was playing in Washington. I've upped my game, I've spent a lot more time practicing, and I've learned a lot more deviations. Deviations are basically moves. You've got basic strategy, which tells you what to do whenever you've got certain combinations of cards, and then you've got deviations, which tell you when to deviate from that basic strategy depending on what the count is. There's a lot of deviations, and for every one you learn, you get a tiny bit more of an edge over the house. They are a pain in the arse to memorize though, because it's just a big unhappy chart and it's just a lot of numbers. So secondly, the playing time is totally different. The amount of time we get to play blackjack for before we get backed off is really short. My record so far is that I got backed off in 7 minutes. If I get an hour of play at a casino, I consider that a real win. I'm like, yeah. I had a moment where I sat down at the table and then the pit boss was just looking at me and I knew that he knew that I was there to count cards, and I didn't know how he knew, but he knew it and I could tell by his face. And then I started playing, and after a while he goes over and he rings the surveillance department, and then they call him back, and then another guy comes over to me and backs me off. At that point I was just up for having a bit of fun, and I said to the guy, you should have backed me off way sooner. Your pit boss over there knew I was counting cards the second I sat down, he just knew. And this dude that backed me off said, well, in fairness, you do look like the poster boy for card counting, which is a bit of a pain. I am the stereotype of a card counter, which is basically being white and being in your 20s. So it doesn't help that I very much look the part in this case. Speaking of back-offs, amazingly, really surprisingly, so far, they've been very pleasant. They've just been like a little, hi, sir, sorry, you can't play anymore. That's it. I've not really had any that are hostile. Some were a little bit more blunt. They were just a bit more, that's enough. And one time that I was playing and when the count went high, I put out my 2 bets of 1,200 and the pit boss went, shuffle! So it's just like this weird, you like practically wanted to dive on the table and be like, no! But in general, they've been pretty tame. One time, a guy actually was very complimentary. He said, you guys work really hard at what you do and, you know, it's admirable, but we just can't allow it here. I was like, alright, fair. Once you get backed off or you've finished your playing session, you have to go and cash out your chips. In Washington, I'd always be cashing below $10,000. Now at $10,000, there is this thing called a CTR check. This is a legal thing where you have to hand over your ID and fill out a form. You cannot avoid that, and if you try and just cash out $9,000 and then cash out $1,000 at another time, it's actually a crime called structuring. But because we're playing at such high stakes, we're often hitting that $10,000 mark, And even if we're not, there's a $3,000 mark that exists in Vegas for no reason that I know, where they can just ask for ID. We've got a list of casinos that we have acquired, which we have various notes on, so we can look at the games and what the conditions of the game are and how good the game is for a card counter before we even get to the casino, which is really handy. We also have some info about whether the casinos use facial recognition software or whether they actively add to databases, and that helps us kind of avoid and duck and dive a little bit and hopefully keep us out of trouble. I should also mention that day to day we are operating on completely unstructured sleep schedules. We wake up when we wake up, we play for as long as we play, we fall asleep when we fall asleep. What time it is irrelevant, whether it's 4 a.m. or 3 p.m. or none of it, it's all out the window, which kind of works. I mean, the time difference shift is a thing anyway, and Vegas is 24 hours, so we're just playing whenever we like. There's way more stuff I could talk about. I could keep rambling forever, but I really need to get some breakfast and then go and hit the tables.
Oh, bomb. What the hell? You're doing 3 spots, sir. My error.
So I didn't really mention this before, but our 4th teammate hasn't been on the trip so far. He's just arrived for the last few days we have in Vegas, and we've just been doing some training sessions, so we've sort of tested him out. He's absolutely great. And now we're doing some general practice. It's actually already 4:30. None of us have played yet today, so looking forward to getting out there.
-5. Yeah. True -5. Yeah. True -5. Yeah. And that would be the reason for hitting 12 against 6. I have it. I have that. Can we just go? Yeah.
I do not have very much time. I got to bed at like 4:45 a.m. It is now nearly 1 p.m. I need to go out and play before we have a team meeting and training session a little bit later. But I wanted to update you on what's been happening. In fact, what better way to talk about what's happened than to show you our AV graph. An AV graph refers to actual value, which is the actual amount of money that you are making, whereas an EV graph would refer to the expected value, which is the amount of money that you expect to make. These graphs don't necessarily line up, but by the end, after you've done enough hours, they should match pretty well at that top bit. As you can see, it started out okay, then it dipped a bit, and then it gradually improved, and then yesterday we had an awesome day. We are now nearly at $70,000, which is awesome. I mean, I'm saying awesome far too much in this video. It could drop, but 70K, really, really good so far. The team have had quite a few back-offs and trespasses, the difference being that a back-off is a polite, hello, please don't play at our casino, whereas a trespass is, hello, if you come back, we will arrest you. I'm happy that I've dodged trespasses so far. I have been backed off. In fact, I've developed quite a good system for dodging quite a lot of back-offs, which is, on second thoughts, maybe, just maybe, it's not a great idea to publicly say this on my channel. So, moving on. Today I played in Caesar's Palace and exposed my spread, was betting 2 hands of 1,500, and then the pit boss made a phone call, which made me think, oh, my time here is limited, so I decided to leave and go and take a little bit of a nap. Now they did have my ID and I had a player's card with them because I had to be ID'd just to be in that room. But after my nap, I come back, sit down, and then basically as soon as I sit down, I play like 2 hands and then I'm stopped because they realised and they'd written a note down on my account. So I didn't last long. Back off was super polite. The woman was very nice to me. I even negotiated that I could still be around in the casino and play other games, and she was chill with that. Really, really polite. I'm so surprised that it's been so chill. I'd expect it to be really quite like aggressive because they get a lot of card counters, so I think that they really get sick of us real quick. The dealer, as soon as he was told to stop, there was like this 5 minutes while we were just sat there, and I was like, oh man, this isn't usual, is it? And he was like, no, and I was like, have I done something wrong? And he was like, I think you know. So another guy that just immediately pegged me as a card counter. So that now means that I will not be able to play blackjack at any Caesars property in the US. Annoyingly, I haven't got any back-offs on film yet. I've been having issues with my hidden camera. It's a pain, but it is what it is. Yesterday was interesting. I went to downtown, which is the slightly more gritty aspect of Vegas, the old school, how I imagined Vegas to be before I got here the first time. The first place that I went to, I sat down and I played it like a total idiot. I was picking up the cards wrong, I was doing all the gestures wrong. I made it look like I really didn't know what I did at the I just didn't know what I was doing at the blackjack table, to the point where the pit boss was explaining to me how games worked. But eventually they got very suspicious, so when I put out my 2 max bets, which in this case were 2 times 800, not the usual 1200, the pit boss actually went, oh, shuffle, and they shuffled on me. And I thought, that's a real pain in the arse. I think they're probably going to back me off now. But then the back off didn't come, so I just kept playing. There was another point where he yelled shuffle, but it was just after the dealer had dealt the card, and then he didn't have a shuffle after that. And I tried to put the bets out when the pit boss turned his back for a second and looked at something else. I put the bets out, and then they'd deal the cards. I lost 10k just through bad variance. That really sucked. I then went across the street to the Golden Nugget, and this was awesome. I sat down in the high limit room, started playing, and I think I lost my first couple buy-ins, but I was eventually up 15.5k. Then somebody comes over to me. Hi sir, can I just see your ID please? Oh, I haven't been ID'd when I sat down. Why do you need my ID? Oh, it's just something that we need. We need it for everybody. It's in the casino, blah, blah, blah. We serve alcohol, all these usual excuses. Back in Washington, I wouldn't have given him my ID. But here in Vegas, with over 22k on the table, I think it was, I can't dodge it. There's no way out of it without me committing a crime. So I just hand him over the ID. He passes it over to his buddy over there. And then he goes, actually, the other reason why I wanted your ID is because we don't want you playing here anymore, and we want to make sure that you don't play. Yeah, I know. I just had to give you my ID because I've got over 10k. And he was just like, oh, all right, I guess you are. I was then escorted to the cash desk with a security guard and another guy. I actually turned to the security guard and said to him, why are you escorting me? Do you think I'm gonna like start a fight? And he left. They just were like, yeah, okay, this is a bit over the top. I get to the cash desk, I cash out my chips, and I had a nice little chat with the security guy on the way out of the casino. Not the security guy, like one of the managers, somebody in a suit. And I was asking him what he thought about card counters, and I was basically poking him a bit in a polite way, saying, don't you think it's a bit harsh that they will ban me if I make too much money, even though it's not illegal and blah, blah, blah. He said something to the effect of, I stopped trying to understand this business a long time ago. In other news, I've really been enjoying the comps that come with playing high stakes blackjack. When I have a player's card, I'm accumulating points and data about me playing, and they'll probably assess me as having bet about 800 a hand on average. So to them, I'm a really, really valuable customer, which means they want to keep me happy. I've been offered hotel rooms, I've been offered countless meals, show tickets, which is awesome. So tonight we're gonna go for a meal that's totally comped by the casinos. I got us tickets to David Copperfield's show, and they were $122 each. That was awesome, really enjoyed watching that. I'm gonna have to go and play some blackjack. Later, training session, nice meal, happy times. Could things have been going any better at this point? Not really. The high counts kept on coming and we were up $93,000. Considering we were down $15,000 at one point, we'd enjoyed a $100,000 upswing. At over halfway through our blackjack trip, it was time for a change of strategy and a change of scene. Being low on casinos we were welcome in, we had one more day in Vegas before we'd catch a flight to a different state, that the team have since asked me to redact, for a complete change in strategy. So this evening I am in downtown Las Vegas, which is sort of the much more old school, a bit grittier. It's going to be quick back-offs, because I'm going to stand out very, very quickly, and now it's just a case of hitting up as many of these as I can, getting my 20 minutes in each, and going for it. Let's see how it goes. As usual, the Strike 2020 results Facebook chat pinged throughout the day, but the messages were not what we were wanting. Teammate 2, minus $12,650. Me, minus $14,700. Teammate 2, minus $4,200. Ultimate, minus $5,100. There were some good results too, but they were all overshadowed by the last session in Las Vegas that resulted in a $24,800 loss. That gave us a total of just over $51,000 lost in one day. Mentally drained. We all got a flight to our new location and met up the next morning to strategize.
This is what we want. These 5 tables in bouncing. Yeah. Stand 17 legs around a resplit aces. When you say high limit, it's 25. Yeah, the time on both, right?
For the second half of the trip, we planned to play as a team. We'd have 3 of us playing different tables at the minimum and the big player walking around the casino. When the count was high enough, we'd secretly signal in the BP so he could join the table. The BP would then ask the table an innocent question, and in our answer, we'd communicate the count. For example, the BP might say, "Is this normal blackjack?" And I'd say, "Yeah," with side bets. The term side bets would let the BP know that the count was 23. We had different phrases memorized to communicate different numbers. We tested this in Las Vegas, and that's where we had our $25,000 loss in one shoe. The worst single shoe any of us had ever experienced. But the test was a success. We spotted, signaled in the BP, passed the count. It worked well, we just caught some bad variance. A couple of you have asked me about the legality of signaling to teammates. It's a complicated topic and maybe best left to another video, but to quote the law for gamblers, at blackjack and other games where sharing advice and talking about the cards at the table are legal, exchanging information without letting the casino in on the information shared appears to be a legal activity. The casinos were more spaced apart in our new location, which meant longer drives. There were 2 casinos on our list where we thought normal solo play would work best, so me and one teammate went to one casino, and Ultimate and the other teammate went to the other casino with our plans of switching the next day. I played for about 4 hours before I started getting heat. A pit boss was watching me pretty intently and being very cold when I tried to talk to him. I figured there wasn't much point stopping, so I played for another hour. Unfortunately though, variance was not kind, and just when I thought our losing streak couldn't get any worse, I burned through nearly all the cash I had on me. I was down another $24,600. I went to the restroom. I needed to just take a minute and compose myself after the biggest loss of my blackjack life. When I came out of the restroom, I was immediately met by 5 other casino employees and security guards. This was not the kind of back off I was in the mood for. I was told I was being backed off and encouraged to go to the cash desk and cash out my remaining chips. A security guard escorted me and said, "Once you've cashed out, I'll explain what's going to happen next." In my eyes, there's nothing left to happen. I cash out and I leave. Him saying that made me think that it was pretty likely I was going to get trespassed from the property. There wouldn't be a huge amount of harm in being trespassed. After all, it's unlikely I'd ever go back to that casino in my lifetime. But why jump through their hoops? As soon as I got my money, I got my phone out to start recording just in case anything bad happened as I walked to the door. Like so many securities, get straight out the door. Let's see if I make it all the way. Yeah, they're following me. Wow, this is so excessive, man. Oh my god, this is the worst day ever. This sucks. I cannot. Card counters always talk about the negative variance. Being a professional blackjack player is being a professional loser. You have to lose a lot of the time. And as much as you try and get used to that feeling, losing tens of thousands of dollars and getting backed off is really hard, especially when you're on a losing streak. One teammate won $9,000 during his session, but he was the only one. I went on to lose $7,000, Ultimate lost $7,000, and another teammate lost over $24,000. I wasn't feeling optimistic. This was when COVID-19 had just started becoming a thing in the US, but there wasn't any guidance about what to do. Keeping your distance from others wasn't being considered, let alone masks or any other safety measures that would later become the norm. Because of all this, we hadn't considered stopping or even slowing down. But we heard from casino staff that all the casinos in the state were going to close in 24 hours. We might not have anywhere to play soon. I just woke up with a message from my girlfriend containing this screenshot. It's currently Saturday. We've basically had an unbelievable stroke of bad luck in every sense of the word. We did really well in Vegas and we're up 90k, 93k. Then, all in the space of 2 days, we wiped out that and now we're in a negative something. And now they're stopping travel to the UK in 2 days. So we're going to go have a little team meeting and figure out what we're going to do. We discussed all the options. Everyone understood that if I didn't book a flight back to England, I'd risk being stuck in the US. It became up to me to decide whether to take that risk and continue playing, or to end the trip early. I talked things over with my girlfriend and made my decision. I am making the choice to end my trip early. So I'm rebooking the flight for Monday. We're then going to figure out whether or not the guys are going to continue without me or whether or not the trip's going to end, whether my investor still wants to be involved. All these questions are all a bit up in the air. Today, we're going to go and do some team play. However, my day yesterday was pretty chaotic in terms of my back-offs. I nearly got trespassed twice, and I feel like I've been flyed. So as much as I like having the beard, I shaved hoping that I'd be less likely to be recognised if casinos did have me on a watch list. Wow, I do look totally different, don't I? This is so unevenly shaved because my shaver ran out of battery, so that's a bit awkward. Today we're going to go out and do some team play. If you've seen the movie 21, it's going to be just like that, except without the being beaten to a pulp. I'm going to be sat at the table, betting the table minimum, so will the other two, and it'll be our job to signal in ultimate when the count goes high. The advantages to this are that everyone's consistent. I'm consistently betting low, ultimate's consistently betting big, the other two are consistently betting low, so it's more difficult to spot that people are counting. The disadvantage is that we have higher variance, which means the volatility of what we're doing is much greater, and if we do get caught, they will be fuming. I think casinos are sort of moderately chill when it comes to one card counter just doing their own thing, but teams they feel incredibly threatened by. Alright then, let's do it. Unfortunately, team play just wasn't meant to be. Casinos started implementing social distancing measures to limit how many players could play on each table. This often meant long times queuing just to get a seat to play. We kept trying different tables, but in the end we resorted to solo play because of the conditions. I did my bit and lost another 10k in one shoe. The others weren't having any better luck. We were down $24,000. I had one possible casino to play at before catching my flight later that evening and leaving the others to play for 2 or 3 more days. I had to queue for 20 minutes to get to play at a table. I was told that the casino would be closing at 11 PM. 10 minutes later, I was told the casino would be closing at 6 PM. Then at 5 PM, they announced last shoe, and then midway through that shoe, they announced last hand, and that was it. Time to leave. It is a crazy world we live in when the casinos that are 24/7 are all closing down. It's not even 6 PM, and all closed. Absolutely crazy. Like, this whole place is just emptying out. Me and another teammate grabbed some food and then we all hopped on a group call to discuss what to do next. We agreed that the team would play for 2 more days in a different state after I left. I caught my flight home and was pleased to see that the team had a 30k win, meaning that we were up $6,000. But after all the expenses, that pretty much worked out at break even. Would I have liked it if we'd called it quits when we were up nearly $100,000? Sure, hindsight's 2020. But am I happy that the trip didn't end on a loss? You bet. And would I do it all again? Absolutely. 5, 5, 5. I'm ignoring these right now until the second card. 5, 6, 7, 6, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7. This is a clip from a recent conversation I had about card counting. In it, I do a quick demonstration of what's going on in my head at the blackjack table. I also share a memory tool that I like to use, stories, and more. It was originally only available to watch as part of a larger online event that was ticketed at £120. But you can now watch it on Nebula. Nebula is a Streamy award-nominated video platform built and run by creators. It's a place where we can put our content ad-free without having to think, oh, should I edit this bit out of the video in case the video gets demonetized? And Nebula is very excited to be partnering with CuriosityStream, but more on that in a moment. On Nebula, you'll find the entire Beat the Odds series ad-free, as well as some extra content like that dramatically lit conversation that I mentioned earlier. But it's not just me, there are loads of other YouTubers on Nebula, many of which are releasing some top-tier Nebula exclusive content. I'd recommend checking out the Nebula original Crime Spree. It is a very ridiculous premise, but it's really entertaining. I mentioned that Nebula has partnered with CuriosityStream. Well, CuriosityStream is the leading streaming service for documentaries with literally thousands of titles on their platform. If you like the videos I make, you should totally check out In the Mind of a Poker Player and Aces and Knaves. In the Mind of a Poker Player is a documentary where they measure the physiological responses of poker players whilst they're playing a game. They literally have poker players hooked up to like a lie detector type test so that they can measure their sort of heart rate and what they're feeling as they're playing the game. They also have a body language expert analysing them, run various tests on them in different scenarios. It's just really interesting. Aces and Knaves is about the card game Bridge, which is a card game that I really never cared about until watching this documentary. It turns out that Bridge is a really strategically interesting game, but maybe more interesting than that, they have a really big cheating problem in the world of Bridge. So in this documentary, they showcase how some of the cheating has happened, and I won't go into it too much because you should just check it out, but I found it really fascinating. Nebula and CuriosityStream have worked out a truly excellent deal where if you sign up to CuriosityStream using my link, you get Nebula for free. And when I say free, I mean free. It's not a free trial. You get Nebula for free as long as you're subscribed to CuriosityStream. And not only that, but if you use my link, you can get the CuriosityStream annual plan and free Nebula for 26% off. That price is just $14.79. To clarify, that's not $14.79 per month. That's $14.79 for the entire year, which given all of the content you get access to is a really good deal. Please consider checking out the deal because it really helps support me personally and other content creators. Get CuriosityStream and free Nebula for just $14.79 for the year when you use my link.